Greetings everyone, Mr. T-Rex here. We are playing Railroads Online and this is a layout update. I am also going to include this as a beta starter layout. So without further ado, let's get into it and I'll show you the layout. So we're going to be using the class 70 and we're just going to top it up real quick. We are doing a double header today because we need to pick up Panther at the smelter. So we're just going to put some wood in there and top her out. And away we go. So I still need to do some minor adjustments, but it is actually getting there. I haven't done the bridge yet from the smelter to the coal mine because that's still I still need to do that. But the layout itself is pretty much done to where I had it. So this is basically identical to my old layout. And I did a little trick with the switches. So in a tutorial I'll show you guys how to do that. But for today I'm just doing the double header back to the depot and showing you guys the layout. So with this section here, I basically turned it into a 2-track instead of a 4, with the same triangle junction. So instead of four tracks here, we only have 2. Coming up to the depot now, and with the depot I converted it into a single track with sidings. It was originally two tracks on the main, but with the reduction of that track there, I just basically turned them into 2 sidings. So the depot is exactly the same as it was in the other save, with the turntable in the middle, with the two shunting locomotives, Swifty and Betsy. And on the other side, I pretty much did the same thing. I got rid of the 4 lanes that I was using on the track and turned it into a 2 with switches, and this basically connects onto it. Get there in time? Yeah, I'll get there in time. There we go. Right. So what I've done is basically I've moved the right side over just by 1 track and fused the left side to the logging camp. then we've got the switches here for the train yard, which I moved the track from the other side over to this side here. And I pretty much kept this the same. It's slightly moved over to the left a bit because of the grid system. But for this section here, it's pretty much the same. Now we're going to go to the right side. So for this section here, I moved the crossover track, or switches, crossover junction, say, further up, and I basically made the curves further down more wider. And for this section here, I put another crossover junction. So that way, you know, between that one and the one further back, if there's traffic, the trains can navigate through the traffic. And also because of the way that this line is when you're going down it. So this one here took me about 2-3 days to complete. Spline layout. It is exactly the same with some minor tweaks. The curves are a lot longer now instead of shorter and tighter. And it's a 2% gradient. And in the distance you can see the monstrosity in the background of where I was trying to get to the coal mine before the spline update. So I've tried to keep this as much as original as I could. The only parts that aren't are further down the track, where I wanted to make the curves a little bit longer because on the old version they were a little bit too tight. But the horseshoe curve is exactly the same. Now, the horseshoe curve took about a few hours, actually, because I had to place down groundwork all over underneath it in order for the splines to actually snap over the original track. So, it is a lot smoother and looks fantastic. I wanted to keep it the same look of the original, and I didn't want to use the other bridges because it just looks amazing. Out of all the parts of the track, this is my favorite part. And then we've got the Smelter, and there's Panther, where we need to pick up and do the double header. So I found out with the Eureka is actually bugged. Its nose coupling does not work at all for any of the cars. So when I did the previous roleplay session, I had to do it the other way around. So, but the class 70 and the Mogul, they work. So this part here was a 90 degree straight and then a 90 degree. I've just basically turned this into a long curve in 2 segments in the way that I was able to get this to actually work. Then we come through here and it's just a 2% all the way down. So as you can see, it is pretty much identical to the old layout. I did have to restart this from scratch from my old save because when they changed the beta version, it screwed me over. So I just like, nah, screw it. I'm just gonna keep to the original. So the parts that have changed are the parts here. So it slightly goes off to the left and then does a right turn. And it pretty much goes the same way all the way through to the switches. With this part here that we're coming up, I tried to keep it as original as possible. I used the original groundwork for the bridge, for the steel bridge, because I wanted to keep that look, because at the moment we don't have that. So that was successful doing this method, but this one coming up, I had to use the new metal bridges because there was just no way of doing it. And towards the left, I still need to construct, as you can see. But it's pretty much identical. The only difference is it's either slightly off to the left a bit or to the right, but I'm not too worried about that because it pretty much kept the original look. Alright, for this part here coming up, I'm going to need to go on one of the other switches. Because Panther is on the pass-through lane, I believe. Brake. Reverse. Alright, so what we want to do is... yeah, we'll just stick with this one. Where I don't have to fiddle around with the other switches. Topper. Some fuel. I need to go to pretty much fill her tender at some point. So with this part here at the smelter, I kept the left side the same, but the right side of the smelter has been slightly changed. I got rid of this 2 sidings and turned it into 1. And I made the curbs on the right hand side slightly longer as well. As you can see right here, longer turn. That way we don't have any derailments, because previously in the old... oh, brakes, did not check that switch. Goodness me. flip that over. Let's see what I mean. 100% we went off to the siding. Oh, dearie me. So as I was saying, this part here, I'll just put it down to 50. This part here caused derailments in the old layout when you were doing the loads for here, or passing through it. So I made that turn, those turns longer. I moved these wider on the right hand side, and this curve here is 35. I didn't freeform this. This is actually the straight method of 35. I found out you don't want to go any below 40 to 35. If you do it at 30, it's too tight. It's way too tight. And pretty much this is all the same here. I kept the original stuff at the back there for the sidings, and that's pretty much it. So we're going to come down here to the switches. We're going to go over to the pass-through lane. And we will pick up Panther and bring her back to the depot. It's funny though, the Class 70 looks more on the rails than the Mogul does. Because the Mogul's front bogie goes straight off the track on some of the turns, which is pretty funny actually, considering it's a smaller locomotive. It's gonna. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through the sawmill and through the logging camp, so I can show you guys basically what it looks like there. But yeah, once this is the reason why I haven't posted anything on Railroads Online. I've literally been doing this for a few days. It's a very daunting task. It's up. Brake on the ender. It's the brake on the, so I don't. Alright. That's gonna very slowly. Okay. Coupled. Brake on the tender is released. There we go. We're good to go. Right. Let's get this back to the depot. Okay. What? Okay, that was a bit of a glitch. Right. 15 cars, locomotive being towed to the depot. Let's go. Now the switches should be set for me to go through, but once we get to the top, I'll just go slightly slower than 100%. If I have to use the second locomotive to get up there, I'll basically do that. But I think the Class 70 should be able to tow all of these up. Go on the other lane. Okay. So I've always been on the inner side. We want to be on the right side when we go up. Oh, that switch is set to there. I have to say I do like this spot as well because of the waterfall. But at the moment, because that website is no longer being supported, I can't get my trees back, fortunately. So I don't know how I can replant the trees at this stage. That switch was set for there. Ooh. That must have been when I brought the Class 70 down there to test out the curves. There's the way that when I do the curves right, I don't use the Mongol. I use the Class 70 to test the curves because the Class 70 is longer. Class 70 has no problem hauling all of this, including the mogul on 2%. I do believe this is like 20 or 15 cars. Yeah, we're fine. We don't need to worry. Doing this with ease. And when they bring out the more powerful locomotives, like, they'll just shoot through this, no problem. Because, like, all these locomotives, if they're still... what's the word? If they're still sticking to their promise of the tech tree with the locomotives that are going to be in it, then yeah, these are just your low end locomotives compared to the ones that are higher on the tree. With 4882 or a 2882, it's pretty insane. Class 70's got this with ease. Yeah. I was considering changing the smelter, but I like it how it's a loop version. That way, like, if there's traffic or anything, they pretty much can navigate through the end there. And the point of this layout is following a main line and then you having to go to the locations through the main line, not going from destination A to destination B of factories. So that's the reason why I set it up the way that it is. God, I love that. Oh, man. Like, I could have just basically, you know, shot straight across, but I didn't want to do that. I can't remember how much, the mogul weighs, but, you know, I just have no words. Like, the Class 70 just is holding this no problem. Because, like, when I was told by, my mates, Nuclear and, a few other people, that the locomotives got severely nerfed, I was a little bit worried. That's good, that's great. I'm gonna get to that at a later stage. I'm still not sure if I'm going to try and preserve the original groundwork or just replace entirely but keep the metal version. We'll have to see when I do it. That's going to take me at least a couple of days. So with this whole entire section that I've gone up, this was with the freeform section, and I basically did a trick on to line these up identical, like right next to each other. So they'll be like slightly out, just a couple of inches or that, but it still looks good. Right. So let's stay on the right hand lane. Check the switches further up. Nice smooth entry into the curve. I'm really liking the spline update though. It's made track lane so much easier, and especially for people that were having problems with the old system, it's just going to make it a whole lot easier. Down here. Check these switches. Yep, we are good to go. I will put it at around about 30%. 35. So with the sawmill, it's identical for all of it, but I did a slight tweak. So you can go from the sawmill straight to the smelter, and you can basically do a loop. But I've made it that you still have to go from the logging camp to the smelter, and you've got to still pass through the depot area. So I didn't want that to be, you know, so short. So the tracks are exactly the same as they are in the original, but they're slightly out by a couple of centimeters or two because of the splines. But I will show you the little tweak that I've done. So these curves are literally 30. Like, they are tight. The ones in the middle, in the left lane. I do believe the one on the right that we're going across is 35. Yeah, it's 35. Because the Class 70 can still keep its wheels on the track. So, this is the section that we're coming up to that I've tweaked. I moved the switch further down, right next to the other switch on the other side. I've placed a switch that goes to the left and put two crossover tracks going through the other side. And those two turns are 35, and there's a switch on the other side that connects to it, so you literally can use that line to go from the sawmill straight to the smelter. The reason why I did that was because if you're having to do a load between the two factories, it was just way too long. So that's the reason why I've done that line there. And there's the switch right there. So with this section here, I made the curve extremely longer, like very long. It's done in 3 segments. Actually no, 2 segments. And what I've done is I put a switch junction here going from the right to the left. So if you choose the wrong lane, you can still choose to go through to the loading side of the sawmill. And as you can see here, I made the turns here extremely longer as well, because with these 2 segments here, we did have a derailment on one of the episodes, all coming down at this 2% gradient. So that no longer happens when you're doing 100%. So this section here, this has been slightly moved, but it still looks like the original, how the original was. So this, well, I can't say it's really a bridge, but this incline is basically 2%. Turns left, and heads to the logging camp. All the switch junctions coming up, I did space them out a little bit more because on the old version they were like right next to each other. So I made them one crossover space for the junctions, as you will see when we're coming up. So there's a space there for the junctions. So every single junction has one crossover spacing. And we're pretty much just coming up to the logging camp. The logging camp looks exactly the same. It's just the curves are slightly wider, so that the transition through the curves is smoother, so you won't get in any derailments. It'd be funny if I derailed. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the logging camp. It's just nice, simple, longer curves. I don't know if I'm going to have a loop system going through here because I just want this to be a pass-through section. Now, I don't know what gradient those are because when I got up to the top, I built from the other side, and I came down here and did everything on this side. And then what I did was I linked them together freeform, so I don't know what gradient these are. And there's also a visual glitch where the train will go off the bridge because the collision for the mesh models don't line up with the actual mesh. So it's a bit like, ooh, I'm going to derail type of panic attack, I should say. But I'm not sure if it's still going to do it because I did place these down a lot to try and fix the issue. So if it doesn't do it, I'll be happy. If it does, please don't derail. But yeah, I think that might be a 2.5 or a 3. I'm not sure. It looked like a 2.5. Because the Mogul's having, the Class 70's having no trouble. They're pretty much the same as the original. Now, for this entire section, I made the curves longer. The curves are way longer because they also were a little bit too tight on the original layout. But I do believe this is also a 2%. And I was able to preserve the original metal groundwork bridge, or the metal bridge I should say, and I just basically put a plain crack over the top of it with no foundation, and I've managed to keep that look. I'm trying to do that with the other bridge that I'm going to be working on, but I don't know if I'll be able to do it, so fingers crossed. If not, I'll just have to cheese it. Just put a crap ton of groundwork down and just do that type of method to get it to snap and then just delete everything underneath it. And we are back here. I try to keep everything within 2%, so that way there's the lower tier locomotives can still use this route. Getting up speed now. And then it merges with Vibo. So I made the turn on the right hand side a lot longer and smoother. So when you're coming down here at 100 reg, you won't have any issues going through the switch. Alrighty, y'all. I hope you liked this little segment. If you want to see more railroads online, hit that like and subscribe button. My name is Mr. T-Rex, and I will see you all later.